Hello, a Life Outside podcast listeners and viewers. It's Dani. I went on a winter trip in the Pacific Northwest, and I thought I'd take you along with me. I had a ferry to catch to get to the Olympic Peninsula in Washington state, so I drove through one of my favorite areas, Eby's Landing. This spot is always crowded, but it wasn't always like that. In fact, from what I remember back in the day, it used to be one of those kind of secret spots that people didn't know about. Eby's Landing has a really great walking trail, and you can also go all the way into Fort Eby State Park. It's also part of the PNT trail, which is pretty cool. I don't know that I've ever seen any hikers doing it officially, but it's neat to know that it's there. The ferry I was on my way to take is called the Port Townsend Ferry, and it takes you from Coupeville to Port Townsend, Washington. Coupeville's on Whidbey Island, and Port Townsend's on the Olympic Peninsula. It's one of my favorite towns in Washington state, and I love taking the ferry. One of the joys of traveling in winter is you don't necessarily have to make plans, so I didn't, and I ended up driving until dark. This is the Peter Iredale shipwreck. It's a pretty neat feature to visit if you're on the Oregon coast. To me, the Oregon coast feels like a place I could visit for a lifetime. Every experience is different, and there are so many options of places to visit that it never is even close to the same trip. There are quite a few spots on the Oregon coast where you can drive your car right onto the beach, which is pretty cool. I don't know about camping. I think people do it sometimes, but tides are a factor, legality is a factor. I've just never done it. Maybe someday. So, the Astoria Megler Bridge. If you've driven it, you know. If you haven't, you probably have no idea. If you've driven it at night, you really know. The bridge is a steel truss bridge. It's the longest one in North America. It was built in the 1960s, and it takes the driver or passenger a little over 4 miles from Oregon to Washington or Washington to Oregon. It spans the Columbia River about 14 miles away from the mouth. It is an incredible engineering feat. And if you drive it from the Washington to the Oregon side at nighttime, prepare for what I think is a pretty freaky experience. There is something really special about this bridge, though, at least to me. It always signifies either leaving home or coming back home. And I try to take this route as often as possible, not just because of the coast, but because this part of Washington, the peninsula, is one of the best. Thank you for listening and watching, and I'll see you next time, or outside.